I'm Dr. JoAnne Young. I'm the literacy coach at College Grove Elementary in College Grove, Tennessee. And this is my flipped classroom presentation for the process of curriculum and instructional development and the use of assessments in independent schools. I hope you'll join me in the fall at the SAIS Leaders of the Future conference. Now, I'm designing this workshop for two particular groups of people. The first group would be anyone in your independent school who might be engaged in the process of curriculum leadership. And then secondly, I would love to invite individuals who might be interested in conducting research in independent schools, particularly in the area of curriculum development. So let's get started. We're going to talk about the who, the what, and the why, of course with apologies to Sherlock Holmes and Karl Rove. Let's talk about the who first. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my research project. Basically, I have been interviewing individuals in 6 different SAIS accredited independent schools in the state of Tennessee, in the state of Alabama, and Georgia. And then with the urging of my dissertation committee, I looked a little closer at 2 particular schools and spent a little more time interviewing the individuals most responsible for curriculum development in those 2 independent schools. One of the schools was a pre-K through 6 school, and one of the schools was a K through 12 school. Now let's talk about the what. What are we going to talk about at this workshop? Well, I'm going to share the stories of these 2 schools, and then also I would love to encourage any of you who might be involved in curriculum development to begin to develop a vision of what 21st century curriculum development could look like in your school. And why am I so interested in this? Well, I have been a curriculum leader in 3 different independent schools in Tennessee. And as a curriculum leader, of course, in an SAIS accredited school, you know that it is important that you make research-supported decisions. So, take for instance math. If you're looking at your math curriculum, you begin to look at the research on math curriculum, and it's not too long before you really begin to notice that the research describes environments that are very different from the independent school that you might be working with. And so it's very hard for the information that you are reading about to translate to your curriculum decision making in your independent school when that community is very different from the ones that are described in the research. So I decided it was time for some individuals to get out there and start examining the research on curriculum development in independent schools. All right, I'd like to talk about the 4 highlights that I was able to pull out of my research. This was a qualitative analysis. I went in and did interviews with individuals in the school, recorded the information, and I was able to determine 4 areas that I'm going to share with you during this workshop. The first area, of course, is the community. In the 2 independent schools that I worked with, the community was actively engaged in the process of curriculum development. That would include the parents, the staff, and the faculty that were employed in the school. However, I began to notice that in these independent schools that their community, their definition of community extended outside of the boundaries of those people who might be employed or the families who might be enrolled in their independent school. The boundaries of the community, of the independent school community, extended into the city, the state, beyond the state lines, nationally through benchmarking communities, and now with the access to technology, even globally to independent schools that might be in other countries. Oh, time to get your iPad out because it's time for a homework assignment. 2 of these schools, or both of the 2 schools, were reading books that would really would help us to understand a little bit more about what 21st century curriculum development might look like. And I would encourage you to write these 2 books down, and to read those books, or at least to look through some information concerning these books before we get together. The first book is Tony Wagner's book, The Global Achievement Gap. This book will help you understand a little bit more about designing 21st century learning. The second book was written by Daniel Pink, and it's Drive. The name of it is Drive, and this book describes what motivation might look like in the 21st century. All right, of course, our second topic that we're going to talk about in our workshop is mission. The two schools that were involved in my study had very unique mission statements, and which I will share with you during our conference. And one of the unique aspects of their mission statement was that they were able to look at their mission statement and develop a framework for their approach to curriculum development. So in this workshop, we're going to look at a little bit of research that has to do with mission statements, but we're also going to look at your mission statement and work collaboratively to really identify perhaps an approach that would complement your mission statement in the process of curriculum development. Another important component of curriculum development in these schools was teacher leaders. In both of the schools in my study, teacher leaders were actively engaged in the process of curriculum development. I look forward to sharing with you some insights on the research that describes effective teacher leadership in the 21st century. There's a couple of websites I'd like for you to check out. I want you to do a Google search for the teacher leader model standards. These standards were developed by the Teacher Leadership Exploratory Consortium. I'd love for you to investigate those standards, to really read a little bit about this group. And in our workshop, we're going to work together to really identify what teacher leaders look like and develop a model for teacher leaders for the 21st century. And of course, finally, we're going to talk a little bit about technology. Yes, my schools were able to use technology to be able to develop in their process of curriculum development. Particularly, one of the schools was able to use technology to tie their formative assessments to, in order to drive their curriculum and instruction process. I can't wait to share with you the way this one school was able to really think outside of the box. But both of the schools did use technology to support the process of curriculum development, and I look forward to sharing that with you. Maybe even to encourage you to start thinking out of the box in the use of technology for curriculum development. Now, there's an individual that I really want you to check out. This is Heidi James Jacobs. Heidi James Jacobs has written a book called Curriculum 21, Essential Education for a Changing World. And I want you to go look at her website, curriculum21.com. There are a lot of webinars on her website and some videos that you can look through to really begin to be challenged to use technology in creative ways for your curriculum development process. Well, I hope you got that homework written into your iPad so that you'll be able to complete your homework assignment before we meet in October in Atlanta in the SAIS Leaders of the Future workshop and conference. I look forward to seeing you then.